And yeah, play your music. We're gonna get started. Thanks so much for joining me for mat Pilates. We're gonna do a little bit of standing stuff, and then we'll take it to the ground. All right, so feet hip distance apart. Bring it up nice and high. Taking your time. Oh, my finger got cut off. That's okay. Wow. All right, I'm not gonna adjust this. I'm gonna be going to the mat soon anyways. So our side bends, we're milling the arms, getting range of motion in the shoulders, getting motion in our spine. We've been sitting still all day, sort of in the same position. Even if it's good posture the whole time, we will get a little stiff if we sit still for a long time. So this is a great exercise to do sort of every hour on the hour if you can. Inhale, reach nice and high. Exhale, side bend. Inhale. Keep those heels anchored to the mats. That way you're feeling sort of like grounded down with the foot while the arm reaches up, and you'll feel this stretch here. One more time on your side. Go at your own pace. I think I'm actually going a little faster than I normally do. Exhale. Okay, let's do one more time on your side. Inhale. Transition. Exhale. Reach. Inhale. Exhale. Good. From here, we're going to rotate. So if basically bend your knees a little bit, soften your knees a little bit, and you can pull one elbow back. What we're really trying to do is not take it into the knees or the pelvis. So if you can, if we're sitting, it's easier, but basically we want to kind of isolate the rotation to just the rib cage. So there are laser beams shooting out of my breastbone. The laser beam will go to the left corner and then the right corner, just corner to corner. And again, go at your own pace. Never a need to be rushed at all. And then finally, I'm just going to turn profile, but we're going to do a standing cat-cow. So standing spine flexion. Tuck the tailbone under, round the spine, draw the abdominals in, separate the shoulder blades. Eye gaze will be downward, keeping the head and neck aligned with the spine. We're going to stand up. I'm going to do this kind of slowly through neutral and then into extension. So when I arch my back, just to stay counterbalance, I do slide my hips forward a little bit, because if I just kept my butt here and lean back, I would feel like I'm going to fall back. So you got to kind of shift the hips forward a little bit as you squeeze the shoulder blades together. And again, keeping the head and neck aligned with the spine, so you're looking upwards a little bit. And let's go back to neutral into standing cat, spine flexion. Exhale. Starting to inhale as we come into extension. Good. Try not to just drop your head back. Try to keep control in your neck and dictate how far you look up. Good. One more time. Exhale here. Inhale. Now we're going to do a little march. It's a slow march. You want to stay balanced. You want to try to keep the pelvis level. So in other words, this is level. This is sort of me sinking into my pelvis and settling into the joint, really. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Let's get those arms engaged, those shoulder muscles engaged. Brace the abs, keep the chest lifted. So from the profile view, I should have a really, really nice straight spine, right? I'm not rounding as I pull the knees up. So try not to flex the spine. It's not so much how high you lift the knee, but on lifting the knee and keeping the spine neutral. When your arms are up, that doesn't mean your shoulders have to be up. So we're practicing keeping the shoulder blades down. Good. Now part of the balance challenge here is visual. So looking at a dots on the floor, maybe about 5 feet ahead of you. As your weight shifts side to side without, again, dropping into the hip. And then finally, I'm going to ask you to try a rotation. And this is a little more challenging with balance. You can spot the floor and sort of more, you know, using your peripheral vision to keep looking at the same dot, but my head is turning with my spine. So I'm not rotating my body and looking the other way, all right? My eyeballs just kind of go side to side. So don't worry about really over rotating here. It's more just to kind of add this dimension, plane of movements to create a little more challenge, make you concentrate a little bit more on the movement pattern. Kind of looks like, you know, your obliques, right? When you do your bicycle, it's kind of like vertical bicycle. Got one more on each side, just generating a little bit of heat here. And now we're going to go to the floor. So we're going to come to the edge of the mats, now the chin, roll down. Oh, the stretch feels really good from my hamstring all the way to my back. Walk it out. Feel free to come to your elbow at this time for your plank. Squeezing the abdominals, your glutes, your quadriceps, and taking 3 breaths. Inhale. Wrists should be underneath the shoulders, where your elbows are underneath your shoulders. Exhale. Head and neck aligned with the spine. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in through the nose. And exhale out through the mouth. Good. You can go ahead and bring your knees forward. Circle that leg around. And we are on the floor, sitting nice and tall. From here, it is a little more challenging to sit with neutral spine when your knees are bent compared to when you're standing. But we're going to do our best to stay neutral. And then we're going to go into a flexion, which is easier, right? This is less kind of drawing the abs in and coming down towards gravity. Inhale back to neutral. Exhale. Now inhale, see if you can go into extension. It helps to sweep the arms back a little bit. So it's really hard to get into extension when you're sitting on the floor with your knees bent. I'm going to do my best. And then round the spine. Again, trying our best to get that extension in. A little bit of arch. Exhale. Last time. Inhale. And exhale. Go ahead and roll on down. Good. Imprint that lower back. Legs to tabletop. Tap it out. It is the easiest to maintain imprint when our legs are up. Also when our head, neck, and shoulder blades are up, right? Because we kind of create either a neutral or a flex position that generally helps us push that lower back down. It is more challenging to be imprinted when our legs are straight down on the mats. We have that long lever, which makes it hard to lift our legs off the floor with them straight and keep that lower back to the mats. Also, our butts are generally round, right? And so if we have our butts underneath us and our legs are straight, the butt kind of pushes into the floor, which just immediately elevates our lower back. Try that in a second. One more. And then let's try the double leg lower and keeping both knees down. You can go halfway down if you feel your lower back coming off the mats. The most important part here is not getting the toes to the floor. It is keeping the imprint of the lower back on the floor. Take your time with this. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lower. What I'm going to have you do on this last one, I'm going to have you reach one leg straight out. Good. So because we still have one leg up, it's kind of helping with the imprint. Then I'm going to reach the other leg up. And if you notice, now that your legs are straight, your butt's on the ground, right? It's on the ground, that your lower back tends to just come off the mat. And the only way to really imprint is when you tuck your tailbone under, it forces my knees to come up. right? So now my legs aren't perfectly straight. And that's kind of the whole principle about your butt and your pelvis affecting imprint. That affects, it will be highly influenced by how bent or straight your legs are. Go ahead and bend it again and go into our rolling up into the glute bridge. Inhale. Exhale, rolling down, articulating one vertebra at a time. There's a simultaneous squeezing of the glutes as well as drawing down of the abdominals so that we come into that neutral position at the top. Okay, if I relax my abs and I push up with my butt with all my might, then I might accidentally arch my back. All right, so we just want to come to neutral. Last one. Get ab prep, nod the chin, look at your knees. Exhale, reach those fingertips through the toes and down. Exhale, lift. Let's do 4 with the feet on the floor. 2 more. Last one with the feet on the floor. Feel free to keep your feet on the floor, of course. Next version, tabletop, knees together. Knees right over the hips, shins parallel to the floor. 2 more. Exhale, lift head, neck, and shoulders, look right at the kneecaps. Good, 4 with the legs nice and straight. Up vertical. Again, reinforcing that imprint. And then what's the most challenging position is with the legs straight and on the diagonal. Here, we're not going to do 4 crunches. We're going to go into hundreds. Pick either of those leg positions and we pump. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale. Exhale. 20. Inhale. Exhale. 30. Inhale. Exhale. 40. Inhale. Exhale. 50. Halfway done. You can always change leg position at any time. You go higher. You bend your knees. Inhale. Exhale. 70. Inhale. Exhale. 80. Inhale. Exhale. 90. Inhale. Exhale. And 100. Bring the knees in and come to your stomach for spine work. So here's your spine extension, keeping the head and neck aligned with the spine. Gentle pressure into the forearms to lift the chest. Just the chest where the top of the rib cage comes off the ground. Keep active legs on the mats, but apart. They're not together. If you don't feel you need the assistance, then you take that assistance away. See if you can squeeze your shoulder blades together and get a little bit more lift, but at the same time, you're still thinking about length. The top of the head is reaching forward away from the toes. Good. We go from assistance to I don't know what this is. The normal, and then this is resistance. So basically adding in more work. So go from easy to hard here. So this is the most challenging because we're lifting the weight of the arm with the muscles around the spine. But at the same time, your head and neck get tactile feedback. So I know that if I lift my forehead off my fingers, then my neck is out of alignment. So even though this is the most challenging version, I like this version because it gives you that tactile feedback about the position your head should be in. All right, go ahead and find a stretch of your spine. Always good to do after some spine extension. Anytime you want to come into this break position, go ahead. Stop and take water breaks at any time. Going into our plank, I did the plank on the wrist earlier. Anytime I do the plank, it can be on your elbows. We're going to do the saw plank or rocking. So a saw, you know, not that anyone ever uses anymore because we all have chainsaws, but going cutting a tree trunk, would go forward and back, not up and down. So you feel a little stretch in the calves as your heels reach back, and then glide forward. So eye gaze on your thumbs. Keep your head and neck along the spine. Squeeze glutes, abs, and quads. It's just a couple inches of gliding, okay? So don't feel like you have to have the greatest range of motion. Just a little bit of movement is quite intense. Keep breathing. So you can exhale to rock back, inhale to rock forward. You can always adjust your feet. Like you can have a wider base, you can get it closer to your elbows, further from your elbows. You'll notice if your feet go too far from your elbows, it's much more challenging. So find what challenges you, but is doable with good form. All right, last rock. Hope you're still breathing. Bring the knees down. Good. There's always like a certain range of motion that's most effective for the muscles to do its thing, or to feel its most efficient. Single leg stretch, keeping that imprint. Stretch a leg out. So it's kind of along the principles I talked about earlier. If you lift the head, neck, and shoulders, you might feel more abs. It actually sort of assists with the imprint. And if you extend the leg, if you decide your single leg stretch is going to be this low, you know, like really close to the floor, but not resting on the mats, and then you put your head down too, I'm feeling like I can't keep my imprint. And that's kind of where you want to be in terms of how low can I take this? How much challenge can I, or what can I do to my body to find this challenge, but without losing that imprint? And it's going to be different for every single person. If your foot's cramping, flex the foot, do the calf stretch, do the arch stretch, good stuff. All right, so we did a standing bicycle earlier. Let's go ahead and do the horizontal bicycle. The recumbent bike. Oh, no, just kidding. I guess this is not really recumbent. So rotation, keeping the shoulder blades off the ground. So notice my pelvis is pretty much staying still, just like when I was standing. And it's the rib cage that moves, just like when we were standing. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. For double leg stretch, I need a break, so I'll put my head back down. Just because I put my head and shoulders down doesn't mean it's easy, right? There's different challenges felt. Your arms will go, or your biceps will go as far back as your ears. So I can go this low to the floor when my head is down. And then if my head, neck, and shoulders are up, my arms have less range of motion, right? They're not going to go all the way back to the floor. You can lower the legs though. Again, find the challenges that work for you, the range of motion, the lowering of the legs, but all while maintaining an imprinted lower back. All right, last one. Exhale, reach. Inhale, pull it in. All right, so we have our single leg lowering, otherwise known as scissors. Feel that stretch in the hamstring and the work in the quads. Inhale, switch, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Because you have one leg vertical, it kind of helps with the imprint, but the other leg is wanting to pull your lower back out of imprint. So it's kind of a battle there. Quality over quantity, which means I'm not going to do too many. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Let's give our abs a break. Hopefully you're ready for one. And we're back. Here. From here, we're going to elevate the legs this time. So for now, if you want to just stack your hands and rest your forehead on there, extend one leg, keep the legs apart, do not shoulders apart. And the main thing here is that your glutes are engaged so you can do a hip extension. My quads are very much engaged, so there is no bending of the knee. The job of the quadricep is to straighten the knee. It's pretty much its only job. If your knee is bent, you activate the quads, the knee is straightened. So if your quads are active here, then there's no way you can bend your knee. The only way you can bend the knee is that the quads release and your hamstrings take over. Okay? Now let's try to add some upper body. So if my front leg is going to lift, I'm going to lift my upper body, keeping one hand stacked at the forehead or stuck there, and the opposite arm extends. All right, so I'm lifting the weight of my arms here and extending opposite limbs. Return lower. I'm going to lift the back leg and extend the front arm, and the remaining hand, it's like a salute at the forehead. Inhale, lift and reach opposite limbs. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift and reach opposite limbs and lower. You always have a set of fingertips at the forehead, elbows wide. One more on each side. Try to keep the leg and arm straight as much as possible. Okay. Whew. Again, after every spine exercise, we're gonna do some spine stretching. Spine stretching, not to be confused with stretching. Okay, so let's onto our side thing here. Usually when I do side kneeling kicks, I do it at the way end. And every time I do it at the end, I'm like, why did I wait till the end to do this? I'm so tired. So I'm gonna do it in the front half of class. Anyways, always just changing up the order we do things. So here's your plane of glass. Try not to break through the plane. Try not to reach your arm away from the plane. Try not to pike away from the plane. Plane, pane, same thing. So the imaginary pane of glass, which is in one plane. Okay, my straight leg, see I'm currently externally rotated. I'm gonna bring it back to neutral. So the kneecap is facing forward, facing you. And then from there, I lift my leg to hip height. My goal is to get it to hip height. So parallel if possible. It's okay if you don't get there. You're gonna feel the challenge right in the outer thigh here. Brace the abs, resist the urge to pike back, which forces your leg to go through the glass, the imaginary glass. You can also do this lying on your side. Okay, let's pulse it. Pulse means really small range of motion, a little faster, and just at the highest point. So at parallel, pulse for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, never again. We'll never do that again for the rest of today. I might do it next week. All right, so we're gonna do 8 slow. Range of motion is from the floor to parallel. And then we're gonna do 16 pretty quick pulses. Yes, they're quick, but I don't want you to feel like you're out of control. So there's a controlled quickness to it so that you still feel the muscle working. Because you don't lower the leg all the way to the floor, you don't really feel that rest, which is why pulsing is so painful. I mean, pulsing is so effective. 2 more. Hold it up there and pulse. 1, 2, 3. Think up, 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 up. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. So we're not directly working our abs, but your abs should feel engaged. They are stabilizing. Go back to the first side. We're lying on the ground. Same thing. Lifting the leg to hip height. Oh, we're not going all the way down yet, so sorry. We're going from kneeling And this is not kneeling, but we're on our elbows. And then the last version is we're gonna go all the way down. If you wanna lay down for all 3 sets, please do so. So now we're propped up here. This is me settling into the joint, so we don't wanna do that. So lift through the shoulder, lift through the obliques. This hand should be for stabilization. And again, there's no external rotation, so make sure your kneecap and all 10 toes are facing forward. If you want, you can lift up with the top arm. This kind of reminds me to stay lifted from elbow all the way up. So if you don't need the kickstand hand, feel free to use this. This bottom hand kind of acts like a kickstand because it is forward, which is not present when you're lying completely on your side. So about hip height, right? Not too high. You really won't be able to get that much higher anyways without externally rotating your leg or without piking or falling back. So you're somewhat limited in your range anyways. Okay, pull this one up and pulse it. Same thing. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. As I get tired doing this, I get sink, sink, sink. I keep getting lower and lower. And it's so hard to remember to think about everything. You want to think about your leg muscles, right? Your leg is straight, your quads are engaged. You want to think about staying lifted through the shoulder. You want to think about keeping the obliques engaged and lifted. And then you want to breathe. So let's not forget that too. So just all those things combined. Let's try the other side. Lift, lower. Keep alternating the breath. Yeah, let's hold this one up. I just fell backwards. And pulse it. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you know, I don't often count or count correctly. But pulsing is so difficult and it just burns so much, so I count. All right, so now we're all the way down. And usually I would start here and progress harder and harder. But I just decided to do the reverse. I started from a more challenging and I don't want to say regress, but basically, you know, it's just changing the order of stuff. So you're not doing the exact same thing over and over again. Top hand can be a kickstand here. And again, we're lifting the leg to hip height. I know when we're on the ground, it's so easy to just lift it really, really high. But we want to watch our range of motion because we want to work in a range that is most effective for our outer thigh muscles. Gravity does its most amount of damage / work on our muscles at specific angles. In this case, it's to parallel. Oh, so you already do more than 8 here. So let's go ahead and pulse it. I was just going to do 8, but let's do more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. If you didn't really feel in the outer thighs, sometimes it's because you relax the quads. The whole leg has to be really, really straight. And the whole leg needs to be engaged in order to also feel the outer thighs. So the muscles are connected. They're placed next to each other, but you can't just squeeze one muscle and not have it affect the rest, right? I mean, obviously you can squeeze your shoulders and be sitting on your butt and your whole lower body's relaxed. But in terms of squeezing your outer thighs and not having it affect your quads or your butt, I mean, that's really rare because they're so close to each other. Their proximity is near. Whatever the English sense is there. I know all this anatomical terms and bones and muscles, and I don't know English. Like, I don't know how to use proximity in a sense. All right, a couple more. Again, our abs engaged. We're not directly working them. It doesn't mean they're relaxed. And let's pulse. So squeeze your quadriceps nice and straight. Really reach with the toes or reach with the heel. Either works. And pulse. Controlled pulsing, not too fast. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully by now, because that's the third round, the third set of doing the outer thigh. We started from the knees, went to the elbows and went down. Hopefully your leg muscles are pretty fatigued. Now we're gonna work the glutes. Taking out the articulation that we did in the warm-up, it's a drive upward with squeezing the glutes. At the same time, it is a pull downward with the abs so that you don't accidentally arch your back. We hit the neutral every single time. Feet are hip distance apart. Look what's happening. Every time your right and left hip hit neutral. That's what we're gonna do, but we're gonna remove one of the legs. So from here, the knees are still next to each other. The hips are still next to each other. Everything's gonna go up as before, except the leg is gonna be on the diagonal. Inhale, prepare, exhale, lift. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I feel a little more work in the abs because I'm now asymmetrical. I don't have that front foot down and it affects my balance. So my abs feel a little bit more work. And of course, this quadricep is now engaged because the leg is straight. Only one butt cheek is squeezing. You can still squeeze the butt cheek of the leg that's elevated because your hip is extended, so that means your butt is technically contracted, but you're not gonna be feeling it that much. You're gonna be feeling it mostly in the butt cheek of the leg that's on the ground. Inhale, prepare, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Last two. So you're not feeling the outer thighs anymore. You're feeling it in the glutes and the quads. Feel free to repeat that set exactly as is. Or if you want to sort of change it up a little bit, leg will be vertical, same drive up, hips to the same height. Feel a little more hamstring stretch, a little more hip flexors, right? And it also affects how your abs work. Inhale, prepare, exhale, lift. Abs work a little bit more when your leg is on the diagonal, reaching away from your midline, from your midsection. Definitely a lot more hamstring stretching here. Due to our flexibility, sometimes we feel like it's harder to lift the butt to the same height as compared to here. I feel like it's easier to get my butt up and harder here. Last two. Oh, okay, wow, my leg is really feeling it. It's working. Such great exercises to do at home. You don't even need any extra equipment. It's just your body weight versus gravity. Awesome stuff. Do the last side here. Also a great exercise and great way to work your hips and your butts, especially if your knees tend to bother you. Sometimes doing squats standing up causes knee pain, but then it's like, well, how do you strengthen your hips? Well, this is how you strengthen your hips without putting extra pressure on your knees. Last two. Last one. Good. All right. We're going to do one more exercise on our side here. Or I should say a couple. One is the side plank, which is an oblique work. Let me first show you the bottom knee version. So bottom knee bent version, I should say. Our top one can be here. It can be up here. Again, we're not going to that sinking down joints. Lift to as high as you can. So in this case, this is neutral, but if you go a little bit beyond neutral, your obliques just work harder and you kind of get a little stretch here. Whereas if you're doing a regular plank facing down, if you lift your hips too high, you just release the work from the abs. You just get your butt in the air. So side plank is a little different from the regular plank where you're facing down. Maybe two more. And then just try this little challenge. We're not gonna do too many. Take your hand and angle it out sort of at the corner of the mat. And then from here, reach and press. So I'm gonna reach for my toes. Stay lengthened here and lifted. So this is kind of like a single arm tricep push-up. And maybe the first two, you'll be like, oh, that's easy. And then after two more, you're like, whoa, no, it's really hard. Exhale, reach. Last one. Did I say 4? I'm sorry. I meant 4 times 2, you know. Okay, let's try the other side. So first, just the plank. You can, of course, do this with both legs straight. I find that when both my legs are straight, I can't lift my hips too much higher past neutral, and then I don't feel my obliques as much. So because my goal here, I would like to target my obliques more versus like my legs. I bend my bottom knee. And also when both legs are straight, it puts a little extra stress on the shoulders. So it's just preference. And you can try both versions. Do one more. So for instance, you can try it right now. Straighten the leg, lifts, and see what happens. And immediately, I mean, I'm a little fatigued, but immediately it just feels so much in my shoulders. I almost always prefer doing side planks with the bottom knee down. I just don't want to work my shoulders that much. Okay, well, we are going to do just 8 of these. Reach. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pilates doesn't do a lot of arms and triceps. We do some push-ups sometimes. So just trying to sneak in a little bit of arms here. 2 more. All right, good. All right, so I wanted to talk about the recumbent bike. So this exercise is not called recumbent bike, but it kind of looks like one. If you recall, recumbent bike, you're like sort of sitting, but not vertically. Usually there's a little bit of a leaning back, and this because it allows you to pedal. It's really hard to pedal with things in front of you if you're vertical. So that's what this is about. When you're leaning against something, it's like, whoa, so easy. But now there's nothing to lean against. So this is where we work our abs, okay? So let's just try with one leg. Here, I'll do this leg first. So pretend, so you do want, this is kind of like the half roll back, right? You're here to here, hold this still, and you're just gonna have to use your imagination, but don't worry if your biking is not like perfectly circular. It's not what it's about. It's about the abs. Keep the shoulders down. Cycle with one leg. We're just gonna cycle forward. Don't worry about cycling backwards. Okay, let's take a break. Sit vertically, that's your break. Take it back. Make sure you're still breathing, constantly breathing. You can inhale, exhale. Maybe as the leg reaches away from you, you want to exhale. As the knee pulls in, you want to inhale. Find what works for you. Has everyone seen a recumbent bike at their gym before? Okay, let's take another break. We'll do 2 more rounds of it just because if you want to stick with the single leg, you'll do your first leg, or rest and do your second leg. I'm going to do 2 final rounds and I'm going to lift up both legs and ride. When you do this, you can keep your knees as bent as you'd like. Find your balance. Okay, so you don't have to reach this far out. That's a lot. Okay, so we're here. Keep the shoulder down, and then you can do really, really small range of motion. Notice I'm not fully extending my legs. Do you want to extend your legs? Go ahead. This is your workout. Find your challenge as doable. 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Okay, break. So if you were doing one leg, then you're gonna do your other leg. And then if you did both legs with me, sorry, you're gonna have to do both legs again because this is our last set. So you can't decide to do one leg now because we're not doing another set. All right, here we go. 8, I'll actually count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, looking good. 2, and 1. All right, rolling down. In fact, go ahead and just roll out your spine. Tuck your chin under. Sometimes this is called a spine massage because you're just putting some pressure on your spine as you roll. Okay, so we made it back down to the floor. We're gonna do some single leg circles. So this is about hip range of motion, stabilizing the rest of the body. Well, as you're gonna start at the 12 o'clock, the highest position of your circle is vertical. You can inhale, doesn't matter which direction you go, lower down. Exhale to 6 o'clock, sweep it up. So if you're taking snapshots and pictures, every time you take a photo, your leg's in a different spot. The rest of your body's in the same spot. That's how you want to think about it. Inhale at the top. Exhale at the bottom. The circle should be big enough that you feel your abs are challenged to stabilize you. If I go too far, my abs are trying really hard to keep me still, but no, my leg went too low and it pulled me off the ground, right? My right hip is off the ground. So I gotta watch that range of motion. Reverse direction. Inhale at the top, exhale at the bottom. I'm just gonna turn a little bit here. One of the things is that people sometimes do is if you watch my other knee, you counterbalance like this. So you open up both. You really want to try to keep the other knee still. So remember that photo I was saying, talking about where only the legs circling and the hip socket is moving? I mean that not just for the spine, but also for the other leg. So resist the urge to just let the other leg fall to the side to counterbalance the straight leg going out to the side. And when you do that, when you really think about not moving the other leg, it makes it a lot harder. You can press as much as you want to the floor with your hands, but watch how much pressure there is, because if you put too much, it starts to creep up into your neck and shoulders too. All right, last one. Hug the knee in, relax, rotate, ankle. Rotate, other way. Okay. Same thing. Your right and left hip might have different ranges of motion. They might feel different. Sometimes my right hip makes crackly noises. Sometimes it doesn't. Inhale at the top. Exhale at the bottom. Last one in this direction. We'll reverse it. I often do this exercise more in the beginning of class. It's kind of a nice dynamic stretch. It gets this range of motion in your hips early on. You get a hamstring stretch as you lift the leg up. And in terms of intensity, it's not one of the most intense exercises. But sometimes when you just put it near the end, when your leg muscles are already fatigued, how much extra work it takes to keep the leg straight while circling. and your abs are already fatigued, how much work it takes your abs, which are already tired, to just stabilize your body. It feels, sometimes this exercise feels really easy when you do it in the beginning of class. And people are like, well, what's the point of doing that exercise? It felt like nothing. Nothing is ever supposed to feel like nothing. Okay, we're gonna be on our hands and knees. Kind of getting to our spine again. Feel free to be on your elbows. We're going to extend a leg. Notice that my leg is in the same line as my spine. So if you are on your elbows, your leg and spine will be at a diagonal. And then if you are on your wrists, your spine and leg will be parallel to the floor. But regardless, you want your leg in line with your spine. You can take a look real fast to see what I'm doing, and then you want to revert your gaze to the floor so that your head and neck is aligned with spine. Same thing, leg circles. How big is your circle gonna be? Are you gonna get it really low to the floor, across the midline, high, out to the side? So I will say this right now, what our goal is of not to do is, look at my spine, it's just moving a lot, okay? And then this is my spine going side to side a lot. Our goal is to move the leg in the biggest circle it can move in without disturbing the spine. So really brace the abs. Squeeze those muscles in your arms and shoulders. Let everything stabilize your body so that your strong, straight, circling leg in that one hip socket doesn't disturb the rest of your body. All right, so we're doing 5 in each direction, so let's switch it up. I think we definitely did 5 there. Just keep alternating the breath. I know you can't really look at your leg, and you're like, what is it doing? It's okay if it's not a perfect circle, but hopefully you have the body awareness in the proprioceptive sense to know if your spine is moving, if it's arching and rounding and, you know, affected. All right, let's switch sides. So again, a lot of concentration, body awareness of what your spine is or isn't doing. Other leg. Almost done here. Doing great, doing great. The circle obviously is not as big as the circle we were making when we were lying on our back. Abs should be very, very engaged, drawn in. But kind of really what helps the spine stays neutral. Reverse direction, and slower is better. 3 really, really slow ones is better than 6 fast ones. You can see yourself in the Zoom screen. I mean, you can take a glance at your spine here and there, depending on where you have your device, but you don't want to keep your head turned constantly because, you know, that's your head and neck out of alignment with your spine, and that's not a good thing. All right, go ahead and round the spine. Find that flexion. Do the opposite, find that extension. You can also do all this right here, kneeling, pressure off the wrist. You want to be off the wrist here, and then extension. And then if you're sitting on your heels, you can rotate by pulling across the body. And if you're still on your hands and knees, you can rotate like this. Fantastic job today. Let's rotate to the other side. And feel free to stay in stretches longer if you like. These are all great things to do throughout the day. Don't ever force your body into a position it doesn't want to go into. Pay attention to your body, treat it well, and it will serve you for a very long time. Thank you.